everyone, welcome back to my class. This is Romana Ali. I hope you all are doing well. In today's class, we are going to start a new chapter, and the name of our chapter is Excretory products and their elimination. In the previous chapters, we have discussed about the different systems, like about digestive system we have read, and we have also learned about the respiratory system. These are the different systems that are present in our body. Now in this chapter, we will be discussing about the other system, that is about excretory system, which helps in eliminating the waste products out of our body. We know that our body is made up of cell. So inside the cell, there are always chemical reactions occur. All the chemical reactions that occur in the cell, it may be like from A and B, it can form a product like C, or else the X is a reactant which breaks down into Y plus Z as the products. So in this way, the different kinds of chemical reactions takes place inside the cell, and these chemical reactions that takes place inside the cell of our body, that chemical reactions are called as metabolic reactions, and the process by which metabolic reactions can occur, that process is called as metabolism. During these metabolic reactions inside the cell, along with the product, some waste material is also generated. For example, when glucose combines with the oxygen, it forms ATP as a product. ATP is an energy molecule. So it forms the product in the form of ATP, which is an energy molecule. Along with this ATP, carbon dioxide gas is also formed. This carbon dioxide is not a product, it is a waste material that is generated during this respiratory reaction. This is a respiratory reaction which takes place for the formation of ATP, and during the formation of ATP, waste material is also generated, that is in the form of carbon dioxide. So in this way, different cells are present in our body, and all the cells metabolic reactions are going to happen. During that reactions, along with the product, waste material can also be produced. So that different types of waste materials that are generated into the different cells of the human body should be removed out of our body. It should be eliminated. So that elimination of the waste products can be done through excretory system that is found in the human body. We are going to discuss about excretory system later, but here the reactions are going to happen, that too metabolic reactions. During these reactions, waste is produced, and when we talk about the waste which is produced during metabolic reaction, then that waste is termed as metabolic waste, and basically it is of three types. One is carbon dioxide. We can give an example of carbon dioxide as a metabolic waste. It should be removed out of our body, and this carbon dioxide is a metabolic waste that can be eliminated with the help of our respiratory system. Besides this, one more material is present, that is creatinine. Creatinine is a waste material which is formed in the muscles. In our muscles, a substance is present called creatine. This substance is used by the muscles to get energy, and during this metabolic reaction, creatinine is a waste material that is released by our muscles. And we can take an example of nitrogenous waste also under the metabolic waste. So nitrogenous waste is also formed as a metabolic waste that should be eliminated, that should be removed out of our body. We are going to discuss about this nitrogenous waste, because this nitrogenous waste is of different kinds, and the nitrogenous waste that is produced in the different organisms, it is of different type, and the elimination of this nitrogenous waste is an important process because it is a toxic waste material. It is a toxic metabolic waste. Here is a human liver. We know that carbohydrate is a nutrient that is broken down and it releases glucose. So by the breakdown of carbohydrates, glucose can be formed, but glucose can also be formed from the other sources as well. So the amino acid is present in the liver. And when we see the structure of amino acid, then it contains hydrogen group, carboxylic acid group, and it also shows the presence of R group, and even NH2 group is also found in the structure of an amino acid. Based on the R group, the amino acid is named by the different names. So the different amino acids are produced in the body and it is found in our liver. When the amino acid is present in the liver, inside the liver there are so many chemical reactions that are going to take place. In one such reaction, the breakdown of the amino acid occurs, and during this breakdown, NH2 group of the amino acid gets separated. After the separation of NH2 group, the remaining groups that are present in the structure of amino acid, that becomes the source for the glucose formation. So this whole group can be converted into glucose by the liver. So liver is an organ that helps in the formation of glucose as well. But this glucose is not formed by a source called carbohydrate. Instead of carbohydrate, some other groups are involved in the formation of glucose. So we call this process as gluconeogenesis. If glucose formation takes place not by the carbohydrate but by the other sources, then that process is called as gluconeogenesis. So gluconeogenesis is a process that takes place in the liver. Now the group, amino group, which is separated from the amino acid by the liver, it is a nitrogenous waste. It should be eliminated from our body. So we cannot eliminate ammonia directly in the form of amino group from our body. It should be converted into some less toxic material. Then only we can remove it out. So this NH2 group, when it combines with the hydrogen group, it becomes ammonia. So this amino group is converted into urea. Urea is less toxic in nature and it does not require a lot of water to get eliminated. When you see the ammonia or amino group, then it requires a lot of water to get eliminated, to get removed from our body, and it is highly toxic in nature. So it should be converted into less toxic substances, that is in the form of urea. So the conversion of amino group into the urea takes place inside the liver, and this conversion happens in the cyclic manner. So we call this as a urea cycle. Urea cycle takes place inside the liver, by which the conversion of amino group into the urea takes place, and that's how the urea is formed that can be easily eliminated from our body. Let us talk about the different nitrogenous waste. So the nitrogenous waste include ammonia, urea and uric acid. Ammonia is a nitrogenous waste that is highly toxic and it requires a lot of water to get eliminated. We don't have a lot of water in our body. We are having 5 liters of blood. After the purification of the blood, only some amount of water is getting eliminated from our body, right? So we don't have this much of water to remove the ammonia, which is a nitrogenous waste. So ammonia is not a nitrogenous waste that is found in the body of a human, but this kind of nitrogenous waste can be removed from the body of an organism that always lives in water. Like for example in fishes. As fishes are present in water, they can use a lot of water, and by using that huge amount of water, they can remove this ammonia from their body, which is highly toxic. So in this way, this type of elimination can be seen in the fishes, not in the human beings. Ammonia is a nitrogenous waste that is found in the body of organisms like fishes. So this type of elimination, if the ammonia is a nitrogenous waste, then we call this process as ammonotalism. And the organisms that removes ammonia as a nitrogenous waste, that organisms are called as ammonotelic organisms. The next one is urea. when compared to the ammonia, urea is less toxic and it requires less amount of water for its elimination. And this urea is a nitrogenous waste that is found in the body of mammals. For example, in the body of human beings. So, in the human beings, urea is a nitrogenous waste which is less toxic when compared to the ammonia and which requires less amount of water for its elimination. The next one is uric acid. Uric acid is also a nitrogenous waste, and this uric acid is a nitrogenous waste that is found in some other organisms that do not have even less amount of water for the elimination of nitrogenous waste. So, in that organisms we can find this type of elimination. We can find the presence of uric acid. So, reptiles and birds, they show the nitrogenous waste like uric acid. So, uric acid is a nitrogenous waste which requires least amount of water for its elimination, and this type of nitrogenous waste is found in the body of reptiles and birds. When you see the eliminated material of the birds, then it is not in the form of liquid. The urine which is formed in the body of birds, it is not in the liquid form. It is in the form of paste. This is because of the least amount of water, as they use least amount of water for the elimination of uric acid. It is not in the form of liquid, but it is eliminated in the form of paste. This is how the different types of elimination of the nitrogenous waste takes place in the body of different organisms. So, ammonotelium takes place in the ammonotelic organisms. Here we can take an example of fish. Ureatelism takes place in the human body, and we call these organisms as ureotelic organisms. And the last one is uricotelism. So, uricotelism can be seen in the reptiles and birds. We call these organisms as uricotelic organisms. So, nitrogenous wastes include ammonia, urea and uric acid. Ammonia is highly toxic, urea is less toxic, and uric acid is least toxic. Ammonia needs a lot of water for its elimination. Urea requires less amount of water for its elimination, and urea is a nitrogenous waste that is found in the human body, and this needs to be eliminated. And uric acid is a form of nitrogenous waste that requires very little amount of water for its elimination, and this type of nitrogenous waste can be seen in the body of reptiles and birds. Let us study about human excretory system. Just before, we have seen that inside the liver, urea cycle is going to happen, and the formation of urea takes place in the liver. So, one vein is arising from the liver. Through this vein, the blood is taken by the vena cava. So, the blood which is coming from the hepatic vein, it is rich in urea. Here the urea formation takes place. So, when the blood from the liver enters into the hepatic vein is a region where the urea is present in the highest amount. Highest amount of urea is found in the hepatic vein. From the hepatic vein, the blood is collected by the vena cava. Vena cava is the vein which collects the blood from the different parts of our body, right? So, it collects the blood from the hepatic vein, then that blood is given to the heart. This heart sends that blood to the lungs for the process of oxygenation, and after the blood becomes oxygenated, that blood is taken by the largest artery called aorta, and aorta is an artery which gives the blood to the different organs of our body. This aorta can supplies the blood to the different organs, so it also gives the blood to our kidneys. So, aorta, it is branched into different arteries, and one such artery is renal artery that goes into the kidneys, that supplies the blood to the kidneys. So, one left renal artery opens into the left kidney, and right renal artery opens into the right kidney. This renal artery supplies the blood to the kidneys, it gives oxygen to the kidneys, and this Oxygenated blood contains urea. So the urea gets removed in the kidneys. Renal artery supplies the blood in order to give oxygen to the kidneys and in order to remove the urea from our blood. After the removal of urea from the blood after the purification, it is taken by the veins that are called as renal vein. Now, the blood which is taken by the renal vein, it is free of oxygen. As the oxygen is taken by the kidneys, it is free of oxygen, and even urea is also taken up by our kidneys. So, urea is also not present in this blood. Only less amount of urea can be found. So, renal vein is a vein in which less amount of urea is present and huge amount of urea is found in hepatic vein. So, when the blood is collected by the renal vein, it is deoxygenated as the oxygen is supplied to the kidneys. So, it is deoxygenated. Renal vein takes that deoxygenated blood and then that deoxygenated blood is supplied to the vena cava again. This is the function of renal artery and renal vein. Renal artery carries deoxygenated blood, supplies to the kidneys. Renal vein takes the deoxygenated blood from the kidneys and gives it to the vena cava. This is how the renal artery and renal vein plays an important role in supplying of oxygenated blood and in taking the deoxygenated blood from the kidneys. Now, whatever the waste material that is formed inside the kidneys after the purification of blood, that should get removed. So, for the elimination of that waste material, two tubes are arising from both the kidneys. These two tubes are called as ureter. The waste material that is formed in the kidneys, it is taken by these two tubes called ureter, and ureter opens into a sac-like structure that is called as urinary bladder. Urinary bladder is a place where we can store the urine. So, it is a storage place for the urine. After the formation of urine inside the kidneys, the urine is passed into the urinary bladder through ureter and a final opening is present through which the waste material can be eliminated, and we call this opening as urethra. So, through urethra, the urine can come out of our body. So, here the excretory system includes only 4 parts, and that are 2 kidneys, 2 ureter, 1 urinary bladder and 1 urethra. All these parts forms our excretory system. Rest, renal artery, renal vein, aorta, hepatic vein, all these are the parts of our circulatory system. They do not contribute in the process of excretion. Only kidneys, ureter, urinary bladder and urethra are the parts of our excretory system. So, this is about the human excretory system. That's all for today. Meet you in next class. Thank you.